Okay, so I just want to talk about how I'm noticing this AI generation, especially this AI art generation, is very biased. It's very casteist, essentially. Okay, because I first noticed with this Night Cafe art generator, when you're putting anything in, it's the default is first of all this like sort of white coated person. Okay, right. So, white coated person is very fine, light features, right? That's just the default. Like I got this one, but I had to literally type in Afro into it. Okay, but otherwise, if you're just putting anything like I put Devil Mermaid, white coated, Walking Fish, white coated, Big Out Albino, white coated. Like I was trying to get more bold features because then it's like this very white coated type of appearance. Very white coated, very oriental coated, where it's very these fine, very fine light features. So I tried typing chisel jaw, still gives you that. Superhero, pretty much white coated. It's always white coated. The default's always going to be very straight, fine hair, essentially. And, right, why is that? Okay. So I guess they either didn't, because this is like based on an aggregate of photos, right? They merge all these different art and photos. So that makes sense on some level because that's going to be, I mean, most of the art, there is this sort of disproportionate expression of that art. Okay, so that's not exactly a conspiracy or bias in itself, but it seems like there's still this big overrepresentation in the database. And then why does it still not sort of alternate between these other expressions? It seems like it just selected these sort of features, right? These white coded features. So that's kind of weird. And another thing is it's like so white coded features in within it, it's the sort of very fine, lightweight sort of features. A lot of people don't look like this. Like it's almost this same like you know actor model coded type of things, right? Standard expectation. Very oval, skinny, thin face, oval, certain size lips, certain size nose, straight features. Like one white coated would be a thing, but it's that very narrow white or in oriental coating where it's like where's the more square jaws, where's the different head shapes, where's the different body weight. It doesn't really make much sense. So I don't that seems kind of shady. And then it seems to be so this is like what people look like to you, what or how we should look, I guess. Like I try looking for bigger features, but they still is that bold to them, I guess. I don't know. I guess this person looks like a basket, apparently. But obviously there's some bias in like the data that's being used, but there's also some bias on how that data is being used. And then it's even seems biased about how people are using this technology where they're misinterpreting it. Like this IA generates average person from each country. I mean, this is kind of foolish because the flags kind of tip you off if you're supposed to try to be guessing. But this is not the average person from each country. Um, these people would look like this is that sort of narrative, right? That propaganda that white coated people are the people of the U.S. are the default, the only people. The average person would like. Why did you select white coated people as the average? If you're saying country, like just say that the average white coated people of a country because they don't. This is not true. The person would look like some very unique person, right? They would most likely have very curly hair because it's averaging everyone. There's so many populations and appearances in the US. They would look nothing like this. Okay. This is just untrue. Even a lot of white coded or white identified people in the country don't look like this. Again, you're seeing this sort of, you know, fashion model aesthetic where you have to be very thin and skinny, same head shape, same features, and of course, fairly straight hair. The person would look very unique, very uncommon, because it would be a combination of features. Like a lot of people have bold features, darker skin tones, but this seems like to be the general thing. Like this is based on caste coding, right? Because people always try to do that, like the average. Like people will still use Britain as a synonym for these certain populations when like Idris Ilba is British. Like, and I wonder if they have British on here too, if they try that. When they're talking about certain populations as the average, they're not British, they're not the average. And then I still don't believe this. Like, so that again, they have that sort of white coded, they're applying that to everyone, essentially. Like, even though that may not be the case. Like the average person doesn't have a face. They're thicker, bolder. Right? It's still based on these stereotypes and caricatures and this caste narrative and caste coding. Um, it just seems as if it's just unfortunate that white caste people, Oriental caste people, have a monopoly on so many things because you guys just like in its cast. I'm not saying it's nothing genetic, but there is this overlap between you and you guys are just particularly like self-absorbed or something. Like I was considering it in the same way as like if you're looking at so many, you know how many stars and planets and objects are named, right? They're all sort of white coded names, like 95, 99% of them, right? Just simply because so many white cast people are in positions where is that is considered a thing. But it's like even if you're a white coded person and have this sort of Germanic coded heritage, Indo-European coded heritage, that doesn't mean you have to like you guys don't appreciate other people and cultures and things. Like you could still name these stars and planets and things from other cultures and populations, but it's always like Greek and Roman and you know Germanic and that type of thing. Even though like we built these countries sometimes literally. Our taxpayer money is funding your professions and your jobs. We build your cars, we fill them, we stock your stores. So even if you're working in these tech positions and these research positions, it doesn't, you're not doing it just yourself. You're not doing this in a vacuum. So you don't have to sort of monopolize everything. And even and sort of white coat everything, and even white coat it in this way. Like a lot of white coated people, you don't even look like that. Like I'm realizing like a lot of white coated people are like attached to these different celebrities and act very like hostile and aggressive about it. Like Ariana Grande, a lot of you white coated people do not look like Ariana Grande, but you're even supporting this sort of like this Oriental coding, this white coding is very it's sort of modeled after this very very small populations, and you're seeing it in this AR generation and how people are using it. Okay. No, the average U.S. American does not look like this.